too busy all the time. Just get my other boat away.
All right, good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, August 5th. It's the monthly meeting of the planning board. If everyone could stand and say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. First item on the agenda is special permit with site plan approval, public hearing continued for 16 Lavender Street.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Nick Kelling.
Oh, we have to read that.
Sorry, I'm
You're all good.
running a tad behind, I apologize.
You can stay right there, you're good. Yeah.
Town of Millis Office of the Planning Board notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 40A, Section 11, Mass General Law, the Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, August 5th, 2025, at 7:30 PM in the Veterans Memorial Building, Room 229, 900 Main Street, Millis, on the application of Santiago Santos Hardwood Floor, 145 Winthrop Parkway, Revere, Mass. 02151, requesting a special permit for with site plan approval under Section 12Q, Section V, Use Regulations, Retail and Services, number 33, and Section 13P, MCEOD, Mixed-Use Development, of the zoning bylaws of the town of Millis, to allow the renovation of the existing building for additional office space, parking, etc., at 16 Lavender Street, Millis, Mass. Map 23, parcel 45. A copy of the application and site plan is on file in the office of the town clerk and on the planning board's webpage. Any person interested or wishing to be heard at the application should appear at the time and place designated. Richard Nichols, Chair.
All right, and, so this is a continuation of the hearing, changing a existing building that was used as a school into a office building. There was some confusion before because of the applicant's company name, that it might be some sort of different business, but it's gonna be just in a small office complex with offices in it. So if you could just go through, and we had asked for some updates, so if you could just run through quickly on the updates, just to, point out the things we asked to have changed, that would be great.
Yeah, great. Nick Kelling from Level Design, representing the applicant. Nick Fasandola couldn't make it tonight. But to run through the changes that the planning board was looking to see, we have added curb stops on all the parking spaces, along here, back there, and in the front. The wooden fence to the rear of the site will be repaired or replaced, depending on the state it is in. There'll be the addition of a sign, a standing sign. It's non-illuminated out front. It's in compliance with all signage regulations. They'll also be adding two building-mounted signs for employee parking on these back two spaces. There was a photometric plan that was submitted. Within this, there'll be mounted lighting to the building. It will be motion sensor, just like as like a single-family house would have. There is no light pollution over the property lines. Beta has completed their review. We've addressed the comments. On their July 11th letter, they noted that all the comments were addressed. We heard back from Board of Health and the Fire Department. They had no issues or comments on the proposal. And we've submitted a special permit to the zoning board. Will be being heard later this month. And I'm happy to answer any other questions.
I think I'm good. Is there anything else from the board? No? All right, anything from the audience, which I assume not, but that's fine. So I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and it looks like, Camille, we have a minute. You wanted to deliberate
If
on?
you want to
Yeah.
approve
Yeah.
the special
All right.
permit, especially with the standard conditions.
Yep. All right, so I make a motion that we approve the special permit with our standard conditions.
Second.
Looks like you were gonna say something, Mike, before?
No.
No? Okay.
Just-
All right.
I gotta put my glasses on to read stuff now.
Welcome to the club.
All right, motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, good. We'll sign that and we'll get that back to you.
I
Perfect.
hope to file the decision on Monday, but I'll email Monday.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for your time.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, thank the owner. I've never seen anything go so quick.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
from the last meeting to this.
All right, let's see, next item is the proposed amended accessory dwelling unit bylaw discussion, which we're waiting for town council to get here, so we could jump over to, do you want to talk about the general code software proposal?
Or if you want, you can just look at the decision and we can go over that draft decision real quick.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, yeah, so why don't we,
Speak of the devil.
oh, there he is. On time. You are. Your timing is
You
impeccable.
don't have to sit down, you can just run along.
Hi, Jay. How's the knee?
We'll find out. How long he's gonna stay.
So far, so good.
Good.
Yeah. And, you know, an interesting couple of weeks, but,
You're just gonna, if you could slide the mic over, Jay,
Sure.
just because they'll be down here yelling at us if we
Yeah,
don't speak into
no
the
problem.
mic. So if we actually just came up to this portion, could you run through the edits that we were requested to make by the Attorney General?
Sure. So, and does anyone, do you have a copy, spare written I didn't print out a copy
Oh,
because I was
can
at
give you a
home.
copy. Yep, I can give you my copy, Jay. Hold on a second.
So some of the edits are anticipatory based upon what I think they're going to do, because we've had towns with similar bylaws get kind of chopped up by the AG. But others, and I did have a conversation with the AG today, and she kind of confirmed these sections would be the ones that they'd be looking at. They're going to have their decision on the 26th of August, so we'll know for sure then, but it's pretty predictable, just because we've been through it since May. You know, like literally a week after your town meeting, they started issuing decisions that really kind of set forth where they want to be on this. I don't agree with all of it, but some of it is harmless stuff, so easy enough to go along to get along, I think.
And just for the folks at home, so we did, there was initially no accessory dwelling bylaw in Millis. We had a different form of it.
Right.
The state made it legal statewide to have ADUs, so at that point in time, we really had no way to try to guide how those were implanted into Millis or put in Millis. So we put forward our own bylaw. That went to the state. The state is going to require us to make changes, which we sent off to town council to review and get back to us on that. And we're gonna have to go back to town meeting again to have that.
I mean, you don't have to,
Okay.
but we think it's advisable if the things you liked, like, and we can talk about some of them, if the things you liked about some components of this or things you'd like to become part of your bylaw, there's ways to kind of work around what the AG is doing to make sure that it's more understandable. And certainly, there's at least one section here that we recommend that you do, so,
Okay.
yeah.
So we're gonna we will end up continuing the discussion and then well, we have to figure out, we have to present it to go ahead, Camille.
Quick question, Jay. So based on what you submitted, can the planning board tonight make a vote to refer it back to the select
Oh,
board?
I think
it
so,
can be
for
referred?
sure. So then it comes back to you all and you start a public hearing, 100%.
Right. So we could do a public hearing in September if the select board.
I
can-
see no
Great.
problem with that.
Based on what you submitted or what the board
Right, I mean,
advises
even
tonight.
if at that point during the public hearing, we come up with something that's slightly different, as long as we schedule the public hearing for a time that's kind of prior to them putting out the warrant, then if we had to make a tiny tweak because the AG catches something else, then, or if we find something that we like better, then, we will have time to do that.
Okay, great. All right, so I interrupted, I'll let you go ahead and run through those.
Sure, so they fit into a couple of categories. I want to start with one, and I think that Mike Giampietro is pretty familiar with this one because I've had this discussion with a lot of the building officials groups over the last couple of years. We've always viewed accessory dwelling units, and with the key term being accessory, as accessory to like a single-family house, maybe a duplex. But normally, it's that in-law suite, it's that, granny flat, so to speak. It's that conversion of a garage into a second unit. But it's usually accessory to a single-family house, and that seemed pretty well understood. And even in their original definitions, when the statute came out, and then even originally with some of the early drafts of the regulations, that seemed to make the most sense. And it seems like a pretty fair supposition from a logic perspective. I think the state made a policy decision somewhere between the statute and the adoption of the final regs to expand the scope of ADUs. I think they did it wrongly, but there's not much we can do about it unless we want to challenge the state. And what they're suggesting is that an accessory dwelling unit could be accessory to any residential structure, any. So that would include both your single-family houses, which is going to be the classic example that we're going to see the most of. But if someone owns like and there are a few around in town, like a 1970s era 30-unit apartment building, they can do an accessory unit either attached to it or in the parking lot. So they can get one more unit. That seems a little wacky to me, but that's where they ended up with it. So where we had in here that under the definition, which I'm not suggesting we change because they're just going to take it out, we had in the new definition that it's accessory to a single-family house. They're going to say no to that. So the change that they're going to make is just striking that language, but otherwise approving our definition. So we don't have to take any action, but we're stuck with that. So I think it makes zero sense. There may be a town or two that challenges them. So far, no one stepped forward. Do I think a lot of these places are gonna all of a sudden go and add a 31st unit at these little apartment? First of all, they have to have the parking for it. They've got to amend their other permits. They've got to have the wastewater attached to it. So I don't think it's gonna be a prevalent example in a town like Millis. I think we may see it elsewhere where we see 3-plexes, 4-plexes,
You are
things like
seeing
that.
it in Somerville.
Yeah, you will
Yeah,
see
we
it
are now.
in some places. So, but it is what it is. So we're kind of stuck with that. So that is not part of this package because they're going to take that word out. And then we're just kind of stuck with it. It does have a ripple effect down to section B2 though, which is the dimensional regulations. Under section B2, what we had in there was previously was that the ADUs were going to have to comply with the dimensional requirements for single-family houses. Now, what they've said is, well, if it could be for any residential structure, then why would you key it just to single-family houses? And where they end up on this, and some of the decisions they've had in the other towns is, your ADU dimensional requirements, setbacks, frontage, things like that, have to be for the most permissive form of residential structure in your dimensional code. Now, I've looked at Millis's dimensional code. The most permissive setbacks, rear yard, frontage, all that stuff is for single-family houses anyway. So it doesn't really make much of a difference. But that's the change they're going to want to see. They're going to strike that language, and I'm adding language, just keying it to the most permissive. I suppose it's helpful for them to have us make this change, because if for some reason we decided to make single-family homes the most stringent setback for setbacks and everything, then this covers the ADUs. So it always has to be, like, I think I looked at the code, and Mike, you would probably know better, 25 feet or something like that setbacks for single-family houses, and like 50 and 75 or something like that.
40, 20, 40.
Yeah, so it's it's not going to make a difference because we were keying it to that anyway, so there's going to be no change here in terms of how it would have been enforced, but this is the language they want. Again, seems a little silly to me, but just trying to make sure that property owners understand exactly what's going to be happening out there. If I'm someone coming in for an ADU and I'm looking in the dimensional use table for something, and we're going with the language that they struck, which is, and they'll strike the single-family part, I don't know what to look at. So this will actually help the users of it who are going into the building department and seeking that, that permit. So again, it's not going to make a difference practically speaking from what you, town meeting already voted on, but it's a change they want to see. So that's what B2 is there. B3 requires a little bit of an explanation. B3, the changes there kind of go along with the section, section E. So this is going to sound like a little bit of a rant by me, but hear me out. So there are a whole bunch of uses under the Dover Amendment, religious, educational, agricultural, solar, daycare, now ADUs. There's a couple others. And they each are written a little bit differently.
Of course they are.
Of course, because why make it easy, right? So with ADUs, they said you cannot require a special permit for use. Use. And as we know, zoning regulates uses and it regulates structures. So the use of what the structure is and then the dimensional components of it. Similarly, Chapter 40A, Section 6 primarily, talks about uses and structures with respect to pre-existing non-conforming structures and uses. And it separates what they are. The standards are roughly the same, but they're different animals. So when they come out with the statute that says you can't require a special permit for use, we started thinking, okay, take like one of the streets right around town where there's a lot of pre-existing non-conforming single and two-family houses with tiny yards. How can you do an ADU there? Do you require a special permit if someone is attaching a third unit to the back of it? Or do you not? Assuming they can meet the dimensional requirements, which may be difficult on some of those lots anyway, another story. And I had this discussion early on, like a year ago from around now, like this is gonna be a weird thing. This wasn't written right. They hurried this. And I said, I get the use part. We can't have in our use table that these things require special permits, but there's a whole other statute that talks about expansions of pre-existing non-conforming structures. What do we do with that?
Right.
At the time, the Attorney General that I was speaking to said, I agree with you. I think you're right. They screwed up. But then, they're not the only ones, the only stakeholders at the state level. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, which is the old DHCD, which crafted this really badly, by the way, had a different view. They said, no, it's all special permits. I'm like, well, you're gonna have to show me in the language where that is, and it doesn't exist. But ultimately, that's the decision that they made, and the regulations are not clear on this either, frankly. But the decision that the municipal law unit, and I think they have a little bit of a gun to their head, so to speak, from EOHLC and the governor's office. No special permits. We want these things by right at all times. I'm like, this is crazy. This is wrong. But that's what they've done. So here in B3, where we talk about conversions of pre-existing non-conforming accessory structures, like the old garage, carriage house, barn, or something like that, which is good policy for us to be able to maybe try and get some of those to be reused for housing. No problem with the policy there. But the law says that if you have a pre-existing non-conforming structure and you're not changing anything about it, but you are changing the use, you technically need a special permit. Again, just the structure, but they won't let us do the special permit. But here's what they will let us do, and this gets where it gets really wonky. And this is, I think, a nod to the Attorney General's office, to counsel like me, who have yelled and screamed at them for the better part of a year about this stuff. And Mike's heard me talk about this 5 times. But if you read Chapter 40A, Section 6, where it talks about expansion of pre-existing non-conforming structures, it says that you can't expand a pre-existing non-conforming structure unless you get a favorable finding or a special permit from the special permit granting authority. And some towns, old school towns, don't even have special permit process for that. It's just a finding. It's a little bit different than a special permit. It's less rigorous. The standard's a little lower. It's just detriment to the neighborhood. It's only a simple majority vote and no public hearing is required. But functionally, it's the same exact thing. So what the Attorney General has said is, okay, EOHLC is saying we can't allow a bylaw that has a special permit process, but we'll let you build into your zoning bylaws that you could do a finding. Now, Millis zoning bylaws already says, well, it says both. It mirrors the statute. It says finding or special permit. So it's not like it's uncommon to Millis to think about findings. But all I've done here, and then in section E, is change the language from a special permit to a favorable finding, that it's not more detrimental to the neighborhood.
By the ZBA.
Yes. Yes. So that's still right in the wheelhouse of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Pretty straightforward. It's the same standard. So when the zoning board considers an addition to one of these houses right around the village center that's too close, they're going to apply a not more detrimental to the neighborhood standard anyway, every single time. The only difference here is they don't have to hold a public hearing. They can make it a public hearing if they want, but they don't have to. And it's only a 3-2 vote, or you guys are
Majority.
three members,
Yeah,
right? So it's a
3
simple majority, just 2-1 versus 3-0. That's the only difference. So folks on these non-conforming houses that, you know, on some of the smaller lots that have been zoned out of compliance will still have to go through a process. It's a little less rigorous on paper, but it's really the same thing. So we're just changing the language around to accomplish the same thing. Even if we did nothing here and they struck these two provisions, I would still say we probably have the right to do that. But again, for certainty and for predictability for the building office, for homeowners, I think it's good to provide a window into exactly what folks are going to have to do, rather than them having to hire a lawyer who says, well, you got to go here or there. We want to map it out there. So I thought this was a way to save that original provision that you approved for town meeting in May and just kind of put a different spin on it. It's going to be almost exactly the way it was in both here and in section E.
So Jay,
It's-
just a question.
Yep.
In other zoning districts beside residential zoning districts, it's still allowable, but by a finding from the ZBA. Pre-existing non-conforming, single, two-family dwelling units want to put an ADU on their house,
For a district that doesn't,
that's not a residential district.
I don't think so, because it would still be defined as an accessory dwelling unit. Its use, it would be the problem there. Here, we're talking about dimensional stuff. But still, we're saying you can only do ADUs. The thing that we're not touching is the use code where we called out the districts. It's only the districts that allow single-family houses, which is all but 2 or 1? I forget.
So, other districts that have single-family or two-family dwelling units, it's still allowable.
That are grandfathered.
That grandfathered.
I would say they cannot. I mean, they have the
can't
right
do
to
it.
expand those houses through a special permit for a pre-existing non-conforming structure, but they don't have the opportunity to add a whole second unit of housing. You could add that if you wanted,
Yeah.
but as of right now, I mean, and that's probably a finite number of.
Yeah, it is, but there are some situations in town that,
I mean, you could change that to say, single-family houses anywhere regardless, or two-family houses
Yeah.
anywhere, regardless of district, have these same rights. But as of right now, I think we only identified in the May article,
well, the use regulation table was changed to allow by special permit.
In other
in other
districts?
districts,
All
right?
right, so-
Commercial and industrial. That's what we had proposed
Okay.
at town meeting.
All right, so by special permit. So there, they would need a special permit, and if they were expanding a pre-existing non-conforming, they'd probably need
A
a
ZBA.
finding. So they
So you
would
need
probably just
both.
lump it all in.
Yeah.
If
So-
that's what you decided, then that's fine.
Yeah, so we wouldn't change that, you have it in red.
No,
but
wouldn't
we
have to change
Good,
that.
okay.
Right,
I just wanted to clarify that.
right. Yep, that's fine.
May I ask a question?
Yep.
So on the third page where we have the use table, so that chances are that that's going to be allowed, that's fine?
I would think so, yeah.
So we don't, but this, so the special permitting board for commercial and industrial, it's the planning board, not the
It's fine.
ZBA?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
That's okay,
Okay.
that's okay.
Just wanted-
It might mean that people have to hop around a little bit, but it's fine. Now, under site plan, they're coming to the planning board anyway
Right.
here, because you guys are the ones that are used to site plan, so we may as well, rather than reinventing the wheel and teaching a new skill to the zoning board, it's easier to just do it right here. So under parking, C1, that was a change that they told me today. I thought this was picayune. We can only require that they have one parking space. That's kind of what I meant with the language, at least one, but they wanted it to say one. So, fine. It's a kind of, I thought that was nitpicky by the AG, but that's what she flagged for me. So I think that's
Chair.
kind of a nothing.
So on that, if it says one off-street, I guess must be provided, so that, by changing that from at least one to one, does not preclude, if there's space, to allow two parking spaces for the ADU?
100%.
Okay.
100%. And don't forget, we're doing other things too. We're saying no tandem spaces. And by the way, I had a fight with them in another town over tandem spaces where they said, I don't think we're going to allow that. I'm like, why? It's a legitimate public safety thing. What if you have a tenant and then people are all blocked in? I think it makes sense. So if people want to park each other in, fine. But I think it makes sense, and they eventually came around to that, and a couple of other things that we talk about. Under site plan review, they were originally going to reject D2 compatibility of the architectural style of the ADU, but they've allowed that, because under site plan review, again, we look at the physical appearance of structures all the time. I mean, that's what site plan review does, part of site plan review. So they've let that one go too. They've just suggested you got to be reasonable. And again, it's site plan review, we can't say no. All we can do is use that process to maybe say, hey, how about changing something here? You know, why don't you change the look of it, change where the parking is, you know, talk about the orientation of the two buildings, you know, things like that.
So we don't need to add anything to the zoning bylaw that defines what a finding is, or the process of a finding?
No.
Because we have it elsewhere regarding the pre-existing.
And it tracks state law.
Okay,
It tracks 40A Section 6.
okay.
So really, when it comes down to, you know, we only have a couple of minor changes in this. So, I mean, what we could do on this is, we'll send it back to the select board to send back to us, but we may go ahead, have a discussion and say, we've just got some minor changes. Would you still recommend that we take it to town meeting, just to memorialize it, just because if,
So I think there's a few possibilities. You could do nothing at all and not take anything to town meeting, and the bylaw would still be pretty usable. I think it will be more confusing for users if we send them for a finding, for example. I think that could end up being problematic.
but if we change it, we have to go to town meeting. That's
Oh,
my
yeah.
Okay, so that
Yeah,
answers
yeah.
the question.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the AG did give me an option today. They said, if you want, I won't issue the decision on this one, and we can wait until the fall, so that way you have just one clean one instead of a partial disapproval. And I said, I'd rather have you do the disapproval, because you're still doing, there's still a lot of good stuff in there, including the site plan. And don't forget, if we have a November 10th town meeting, it's gonna be like 90 to 100 days after that when the new one would be come in. And we might get 6 or 7 applications in at that, by that point. So at least we have this, including the site plan and some of the other stuff to work off of. I've already worked with the zoning board once on pushing one of these into that finding territory anyway, so,
Okay, no, that's fine, and just so we
Yep.
understood the
Yep.
best route forwards for that.
right.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Quick question, actually I have two questions. So we're moving the single-family structure requirement, but parking C2 still refers to parking space, and it may not be tandem space with parking space for the primary single-family
Okay, that's a
structure.
good point, so thank you for that catch, Alan. Let's, we're gonna take the single family out of that there. Let's just scratch that, good catch. So that'll be another change that we do.
And my other question is, might not play at all with this, but how do 40Bs manage this?
Doesn't have anything to do with it. People are gonna do what they're gonna do on 40Bs.
An existing 40B can add an ADU?
Well, so I've had that discussion already in a couple of other towns. My feeling is that it depends on the language within the 40B. The 40Bs that I've drafted for the zoning board here over the last however many years locks them into the site plan and the structures that they proposed. So even, and that forms the basis of it. So they would have to amend that. Now, the tricky thing about amending a 40B permit is a single property owner doesn't have the right to amend it. So, and there's different kinds of 40Bs too. So if it's like an like the one down the road towards Medfield that are apartment buildings, again, it's confined to those apartment buildings, but then there's also 40Bs that are more just duplexes and single houses, and we have a few of those too in town, and it's a different story. But if they're defined as what's on the site plan, then we normally say that, no, you can't do any expansions. In some circumstances in other communities where I've done 40Bs, we do give a little bit of leeway for accessory structures where they have the room for it. But generally speaking, they would have to amend the 40B, and no one within the 40B, unless there's a homeowners association and they all buy in, has the power to amend it. Also, if a 40B is, unless a 40B is a subdivision of individual lots, they would only be allowed one for the whole 40B locus. So if there was multiple structures on site, whether 12 duplexes or 3 multi-unit ones like the new one down there, they would still, worst case scenario, only be allowed one. But I just don't think there's any way they could get out from under the underlying permitting, depending, I mean, if I did a really crappy job of drafting the 40B permit and it was loose enough, then maybe. But we always have been pretty careful to define the 40Bs that we've done over the last decade or so as being exactly what is shown on the original plan and no additions or anything else like that, so,
Thank you.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Quick question, Alan stole my question on the parking. Mike, what's your thoughts on B2?
B2?
The changing of the single to the,
Well, we have to.
I know we have to, yeah.
I hate it.
I know, yeah.
I think it's wrong legally. I think it's wrong logically. I mean,
What are you
if
gonna
it's
do?
a simple,
What's your thoughts?
if I
What are you
just
gonna
like
do?
had a blackboard and we just kind of mapped it out, just from a pure logic game, it makes no sense. But here's the problem with this, I'm gonna crap on them a little bit, the existing E EOHLC under this administration. I love the fact that they're interested in fixing housing issues. It's great. We're all interested in making sure that there's enough housing. You know, how much is another question, what it looks like. Those are all things. I love that, but they hurried. They did this too fast. And then they realized there were flaws in it. And instead of fixing the statute, they just tried these regulations and then put pressure on the Attorney General to squeeze in some concepts. I don't like it.
Hopefully people like you would, rewrite it for them.
Yeah, I mean, we have some workarounds here, but I think from a logic perspective, and, you know, I give these seminars out not just to building commissioners, but to other groups too, and we have people scratching their heads as to how they got from point A to point B to point C. It's been, again, kind of a clinic in how to do things wrong. I mean, within a span of 3 years,
Not
they did the MBTA zoning,
Yeah.
which was not obviously a perfect law, could have been better, could have been rolled out better, could have, we got through it here in Millis okay, with some hard work by this board, but I think this administration should slow down and do it the right way, and maybe talk to municipal people, whether they be municipal planners, municipal council, before they do this. If they're just using a bunch of Boston technocrats, it's not gonna have good results. That's my rant.
Agreed.
Thank you for teeing that up, Jim.
All right, good. Well, I appreciate you coming in here, injured and all, to
Yeah,
fill us in on all that
it's
stuff.
good for me to get out.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. So, and I'm gonna, once we get this referred back and I have a whole package, I'm then gonna follow up with the AG and make sure we're clean. So by the time that we have their decision in and your hearing started, we'll make sure we've got this nailed down. If we have a couple little words here and there that we have to amend, then so be it.
cool.
So when I send the memo to refer to the planning board after they vote tonight, I can send what we just went over tonight?
With that
Yes.
one additional change that
Yes.
Alan recommended,
Yep.
100%.
Okay, thank
So
you.
just one question. So building permits can't be issued in a pre-existing non-conforming in districts other than residential until this gets by.
So, not
For
building permits.
ADUs.
For non-residential districts, if there's a pre-existing non-conforming single or two-family house
Dwelling
or
unit.
single-family house, this bylaw, as it exists now, which requires special permits, they will be in that special permit category. I think the AG is going to accept that provision.
So the question is, can they apply now or wait until,
I would suggest that if they applied now, they'd likely be denied.
oh,
I'd probably recommend that. I'd have to look at the facts a little bit more closely of any application, Mike.
Yeah.
But I think they might have a rough row to hoe there.
until this gets squared away?
Well, not even just this. I just don't know how the use fits in there because this is for residential zones. The statute is as well. So it's not just us, it's the statute
Yeah.
is keyed to residential zones as well. So.
So the special permit application could be denied.
No, the building permit
Oh, the
application.
building permit
The
application.
special permit application, I would suggest is gonna be fine.
Yeah.
By the time they get to a public hearing, if one came in, we'll know what the AG said on it, so I'm
Yeah.
not too worried about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Well,
All right.
Thanks again, appreciate it.
Of course.
Thank you, Jay.
Good luck with the knee.
Yeah, hope your recovery goes
When you see me
smoothly.
at town meeting, I'll be jogging in.
We're gonna hold you to that.
Even me to come back at the public hearing, maybe not jogging yet, but I'll be in much better shape than I'm in now.
Takes time, Jay.
Yeah, it does take time.
Yeah, so I would like to make a motion that we refer the changes as we just went over to the select board for a public hearing.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. And that's in a public hearing in September, which I didn't say, so. Okay, next item on the agenda would be, sorry. 1073 Main Street, Next Grid Solar Installation, special permit discussion. And you can come on up at the podium. You'll have to, when we get that far, identify yourself. I want to start off with just a bit of a recap to how we got here. So the permit for this project was issued on February 4th by the town of Millis. On July 23rd, one of the people on the site called and left a message to the building department that some footings had been poured. This was the first that the town had heard that the work had commenced. So prior to the permit starting, there was a whole list of items that were in the special permit that had not been quite, let's see, worked through their development phase. And so the town heard about it in July, late July. And the things that should have happened, which would have been the pre-con conference with the DPW director, there were some other things that needed to happen, didn't happen. The other thing that didn't happen is that we needed to have peer review for this. In order to do that, we had to take the project, have it reviewed by the peer review engineers, which do it for the town. They give us a scope and fee. That never happened. So at this point in time, work's been going on. We don't have any money in the account to have the peer review done because there has been no scope and fee. The other thing is, we got a set of plans that I looked at quickly, and it looks like the initial set of plans that we had a layout of the solar panels, and it had a general footing layout, 3 different styles. One was just a plain old pier, just like a sonotube. The other one was a spread footing, but it was of a smaller size. When the new plans came out, there's an extensive set of footings that went in. What I would say is, when I looked at it, is that if I was doing a job, because I'm doing one right now in Cambridge, that would be an addendum to the drawings, because it went from a six-page set of drawings to one that's very extensive, that has significant footings. It's basically changed the scope of the project, which, had it been sent off to our engineer, we would have identified that, and also, it would also increase the cost of the peer review. So at this point in time, basically, the horse is out of the pasture, it's down the road, and a whole bunch of work's been going on. And then we had, they had come to us because there was a drain pipe, which, was in the way. Initially, because I thought that the work had been, made public knowledge to the town, we're like, okay, well, we want to be reasonable. If it's just relocating a pipe, then, we had said, well, maybe you could come in and take a look at it. You could talk about this, but I think at this point in time, this project has gotten off to a start that I don't anticipate you would have wanted it to be off to. There's stuff that we need to have looked at, because the project, in my mind, has changed. And we need to have an explanation of how you think you're going to proceed going forwards.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
has a stop work order been issued to that
It
project?
hasn't, as of right now, it has not. However,
We should
we
send
don't,
a memo to the building commissioner to issue a stop work order till these issues have been
we were
resolved.
gonna, after the meetings and after the, let's get through this discussion. I want to get through this discussion, and then, yes, that was going to be the next thing of conversation. So that was already, you're breaking my thunder, so. Anyhow, so on that, nice to meet you. Sorry it's under such a difficult circumstance, but if you could walk through how we got here, we would like to hear the explanation.
Absolutely. So my name is Mike Pattison. I'm from NextGrid. I'm joined by Benji Bora, who's from CSG Developers, as well as Patrick Edwards, who is master electrician.
Excuse me, sir, can you move
Sorry.
your microphone? Yeah, because they won't be able to hear you.
No worries. Sorry.
And they'll come in and
Heard
start
me
flagging
like
you.
huffing on it earlier, so I tried to move it. I'm Mike Pattison
Yeah, that's
Go
the
ahead.
other option.
I'm
Because
Mike
they don't
Pattison
hear you,
from
It's okay,
NextGrid.
good, yeah.
And this is Benji Bora from CSG Developers, and this is Patrick Edwards, master electrician. Obviously, we received our special permit for this project, I believe it was October 12th of 2022. We submitted our design, and obviously it had like some borderline generic footings and well as carport design. And then I understand that this was the new design was submitted, that it's more detailed. As you said, it's 15 pages long. It shows, I believe they're like 13-foot wide spread footings for the carports. Obviously, as you said, this project got off poorly. The pre-con meeting did not happen. I'm here to apologize for our company. Unfortunately, we lost a few people in our construction department, so unfortunately, this project started off construction, but the pre-con meeting kind of fell through the hole, and was not taken care of, so which obviously, we apologize for. It's not how we want to work with the town, and this is definitely not something we wanted to happen. So hopefully we can work together to come up with a plan and get this fixed, so you are happy, we are happy, and we can move forward. So yes, there are a couple main things. I guess, as you stated, there are a list of conditions that, again, should have happened prior to construction, would have been reviewed during the pre-con meeting. And then, as you also stated, there is the drain line that needs to be relocated that was discovered, that it was closer than the existing conditions showed it to our proposed foundations. So I guess that's my beginning. What can I answer questions for?
Well, I think what we're gonna have to have happen is like, Mike is the former commissioner. I think what we need to do is we need to stop. So we're gonna issue a stop work order. And we're gonna start off by going through and addressing all the issues that should have happened ahead of time.
Understood.
And then we will also need to have a scope and fee made. The scope and fee needs to be made on the current set of drawings. And with that, I think we should have, there's more disturbance to the area than was originally anticipated, because, it wasn't necessarily shown as that. I think we should have Beta just weigh in on it. I mean, it's a parking lot. I looked at it's all sandy soil. I think it's gonna be okay, but we'd like to have our consulting engineer weigh in and say, okay, you made the footings instead of 9 by 9, which was shown on the original plans, to 13 by 13 and 3 feet deep, and, there's 56 of them versus, we don't know what was on the original one, because there was not a specific, there was a generic, like you said, a generic layout on that, so we weren't unaware of that. Because what one would hope is in the pre-con, somebody would take the plan that was very generic and then look at the new thing and say, hey, we may want to just take another look at this. Not saying that, there may be a change, there may not be a change, but, we didn't have the opportunity to look at that. I think that would be the start on that. And then the field change for the pipe, initially, we just thought it was, you're just relocating a pipe and everything else was fine. That's gonna go through the engineer now. You're going to have to provide an engineer drawing to do that, which is probably gonna be very similar to what you provided, which was, manholes at the change of direction. But, where if everything else was fine and it was a simple field change, we'd feel more confident on that. Right now, there's not a lot of confidence floating around here.
Understood.
So that would be my take on that. There's also issues with the cemetery that we wanted to have taken care of first. Before the project started, that was one of the primary things, and I believe that was on the order of conditions at the beginning, that prior to any of the work starting, the fence went up, the planting went in.
Correct.
So we want to make sure that happens. And like I said, right now, our consulting engineer has no money to do any, review of the, because there's no money in the fund.
Understood.
And the other question I would ask is, I saw the fee, I think you paid $43,000 for the fee. For that, what is that fee based on? Is that based on the original Charlie Brown set of drawings? Or is it on the new revised set of drawings? Because in some towns, we've actually had to give a cost affidavit of what the cost of construction is. So I would go to the point of saying is, okay, great. So now let's check and see, and we'll have to check with the building department on that, is if you'll need to give us a cost affidavit of exactly what the cost of construction is, and then the permit fee would be based on that.
Okay.
So those would be my takes on it. Go ahead. Yeah.
So I do understand that, I believe Senna, which is a project manager for CSG developers, or maybe it was you, Benji, spoke with the building commissioner to basically, we could finish pouring the footings that we'd started, and then all work was stopped. That was my understanding, that they spoke to him about
Right,
that.
I think you poured footings today, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so then, yes, you're, as of right, we're gonna have that's done,
Yep.
as of, if we're not gonna stop you from getting that set. I mean, so we'll, as of right now, we're gonna get in touch with the building commissioner, because he issues the stop work order.
Understood.
We're gonna issue the stop work order. We'll have to get all that information in. And then I think what we'll do is we'll continue this hearing till our next hearing.
It's not a hearing.
Oh, sorry, our next meeting.
Yes, okay, this isn't a hearing, but if you want him to do do you want him to do an amendment to the special permit? Because that
Yes.
requires a new application with filing fees, public hearing, all of that. Is that the route you're taking?
What does the board think on that?
I would make a file amendment,
Yeah, it seems
my
like
opinion.
it's,
If they're changing the permit,
yeah, it
it's
seems like
amendment to the
it's,
permit.
Scope is larger,
Gotta do
significant.
what we gotta do.
yeah.
So, okay,
Have to
yeah,
reapply for a building permit, or amend the existing building.
yeah, I think, yeah, and all right, yeah,
So
we're
we should
we're
have
gonna
them
wanna
amend the planning
amend
board
the building
decision.
permit. All right, so Camille, with that, they would have to go back, and they'll have to come back next meeting?
Well, I can email you the application and checklist for filing a modification to a
Okay.
special permit
Thank you.
decision for site plan. And then, like I say, once I receive everything, then I place the ad, get the scope and fee, and all of the process just basically starts from the beginning, Mike, that we had the first time around.
Understood. And then just a couple things, like I understand there's like a stockade fence as well as some plantings. I don't know if you guys have been to, sorry, I don't know if you guys have looked at this site. So the elevation difference between the area where we are and the cemetery, I would say is approximately 12 to 15 feet. So there are a lot of large trees, and there's a good amount of coverage there. So, I mean, obviously, we will do as we are told, but to basically put the fence and the additional plantings, we will have to remove a good portion of the tall trees that are there, which will then put a large gap in the current coverage.
I will let the
So-
cemetery commissioner answer
So
that part of the board.
in early discussion of this many, many years ago, it was, I wanted you to go all the way from end to end, if you remember correctly. And it was decided that, and I argued the fact that I wanted it on your property because then you were gonna maintain it. And I believe the decision states that it's gonna be put on the cemetery property, because I think there was a long discussion on, of that. I'd like to work out, you know, the extra plantings can be maybe eliminated, that we can maybe add on extra footage of the fencing, or that we, you know, change the type of, from a stockade fence to a vinyl fence, if, you know, instead of,
But that would be something we'd get at our next.
that could be in the field change,
Right,
and
yeah.
that wouldn't be a.
Okay, and then just a question, I mean, I see it was part of like the endorsed plans that we submitted that you guys signed for it's currently talking about a 7-foot-high stockade fence.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's 7 feet high, I mean, I don't imagine it's going to, I mean, if you're 12 feet high and there's trees, you're gonna kind of be looking right over the top of it.
Right, and that's why I always thought it was supposed to be on the cemetery property. It was supposed to go right on the edge of the, and back of the stones. There's a row of
So
stones.
no trees need to be removed?
No trees, nothing was gonna be removed. There was,
Yeah, you can, just have to identify yourself.
So,
Yep.
I'm on the site on a daily, and the elevation change from that, it slopes down pretty drastically. So, in the plan set, it shows about 200 feet of fence with plantings behind it. And the location of that fence is well below. The vision is gonna be directly over it.
Yep.
To mitigate sight and sound, that fence would have to be almost to the edge of the stones that are on the edge of that property.
that's what I thought was supposed to. I'll have to go back and look at the meeting minutes. I thought that was part of the decision, because when we first discussed it, it was, we wanted you to own it, and whoever came before us previously came and stated that they don't, once it's up, that's it. They don't want nothing, they didn't want anything to do with it whatsoever.
Yeah, the design that was endorsed by the
Yeah.
board, it shows the fence very close to the property line between, and like basically almost on the property line of the fence, and then behind that, it is showing
Yeah.
some vegetative screening.
Correct, so, and that would bring it up to a higher elevation.
No, that would still be
Yeah.
basically down on our level, which is like, again, like 12 to 15 feet below the cemetery.
The grade change is pretty drastic on that hill.
Yeah.
Yeah,
on
I,
embankment.
again, I do remember all this maybe, I mean, I don't know if any of you were here for the previous,
I
and we
was not, I
met with the
apologize.
people out there, and it was, what I just described it as being, that it was gonna be put up right in back of the row of the stones, and it was gonna be on the town property to block off the, because I mean, those trees, I mean, in, 3 months, there's not gonna be a leaf in those trees.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see the ugly, carport, and that was the discussion, and it was supposed to be put up on that elevation in back of the stone.
Minutes of the meeting.
Yeah, that's
Understood.
what I looked at.
Sorry.
And it would, and if, in the decision, it says that it would be a meeting and discussion with the
Yeah,
DPW
and,
director.
actually, yeah, so on this one, on the part of the special permit condition, number 27, it said the proposed stockade fence and tree plantings along the Prospect Hill Cemetery property line as described in Beta letter dated October 5th, 2022, is essential for abutter screening. The applicant should provide a screening plan for review and approval by the board prior to a building permit being issued for the solar facility, and shall install the screening before the construction begins in the solar canopies, which, once again, would have brought that up, which would have been a discussion point back to that, and this was 3 years ago, so your memory's pretty good, Jim. The whole idea on this is what was supposed to happen is, and what will happen, is that, the fence goes up to screen it. You can do, that the whole goal was to screen. It's not, we're looking to, soak somebody for something. We want to make sure that when people are in the cemetery, they're not looking at the solar panels. That was the goal, and we need to get to that goal. That's why in that agreement, or that thing, it was supposed to happen prior to the building permit being issued, which then, once again, Jim would have been involved with that because he's the DPW director. That discussion would have happened, didn't happen. So, now you understand, your point well taken, we got it. The goal is to put the fence so it does something. We want to get to that goal.
Understood.
So I think that's a reasonable
So
request.
again, I mean, as you said, this obviously would have been hammered out
Yeah. No, all
during the
good stuff.
meeting that
We-
unfortunately
we
did
can work
not
it out.
happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do have another question about the stop work order. So I have an active construction site. I have open holes. I have possible, not erosion, but, silt could be. I have to mitigate some of that stuff. So I would ask that I can move forward with mitigating anything that's gonna come out, because obviously it's a active construction site, open holes, all that stuff.
Put a fence around
Yeah,
it.
we put a fence around it. I mean, basically, you'd have to put up I saw you had the wattles down there, because I did drive down, so the wattles, you put them up in some areas when I was over there looking at it. The rest of it, you're just gonna, I drove back there, you can just fence it off, you're gonna have to fence it off, and there you go. I mean, it's all sandy soil in a parking lot, so it's not, I'm not too freaked out that it's gonna, wash down into the gully.
I'd be more concerned of, foot traffic.
Yeah, well, it's,
Fence it off.
if you put a fence around it, you'll be,
Put a gate.
yeah,
If I may just add.
go ahead.
Done that before.
Just one more note, the Conservation Commission also had a determination of applicability that was issued, and someone from the Concom is going out Thursday morning at
Thursday,
7 to
7.
inspect the erosion controls.
Which I gotta say, I think they're installed, and I drove out there, I think you're gonna be okay with that, at least that part.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's a very large area.
Yeah, I saw the thing is also, it's pretty well, they have the marijuana place back there, so it's not, somebody have to work at getting over there and getting in there. So I understand your point, it's well taken, but, I think if you put some fence up there and,
I would just think if you close the gate,
I was just gonna ask.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's just, there's a gate there
Yeah,
that
no, I
blocks
know,
it off,
yeah.
and shame on somebody that comes down that hill.
yeah, put it up, post it, and
Perfect.
see it by done, throw some
Is that
signs up.
correct,
and-
Mike? I mean, that's,
There is a fence out
there's a
blocking
fence
it.
around it,
So,
I mean,
Yeah,
the perimeter,
Not in the back,
no,
not in the back.
not in the back, not to the side.
Okay, all right.
If it was me and I was doing the project, I'd fence the whole thing for liability purposes. But that's up to you.
right, we can't tell you what to
Yeah.
do with, that's, leaves it on to you, so,
Somebody comes in there from out of the woods and falls down and
right.
gets hurt, then good luck.
Cover the holes,
I'm
still
gonna tell you a
please.
spooky story.
cost too much
about
money.
The other day.
Oof.
even the fence, if I would have fenced that, would be a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of fence, yeah, so. All right, well, I think that's about, unless there's something else from the board, I think that's about where we're at, so we need you to,
I have a few questions.
Yeah, come
You
forward,
need-
microphone.
come forwards and identify yourself.
Does the board make a motion to vote to
Uh,
address the-
For the special permit, Because this, these latest drawings, we actually submitted this to the building permit when we applied. The building department has all the latest drawings. So to copy furnish the special, the zoning board, where are we going to apply for special permit? Whom are we going to provide the latest drawings and stuff?
You're gonna provide the updated drawings, okay, so we get, and what do we get sent from, Rob today? Did he have the set of drawings that we had today is not the endorsed set of drawings. So basically, you gave us a set of drawings, then you sent us a set of drawings that had all sorts of stuff on it. We don't have those drawings, okay? So what we're saying is, that's great, you need to do an addendum, so you need to apply, just like Camille said, we're gonna have to go through the process to get that done. If that had happened in February, when you pulled the permit, that would have been all done. It didn't happen, okay? So that's where we need to go with that.
When is the next public hearing for site plan?
We will be in
Next meeting
yeah,
is September 9th,
September 9th.
but it depends on when I get everything.
Right, because what has to happen is, we have to get all the information, everything has to go out, everything has to come back in. We have to have our engineer review, come back with a scope and fee. Then if there's any questions or things that they have to go back and forth with you on, that has to happen. So it may take more than one cycle to go through, is my
When do
Guess.
you need everything from me?
Well,
Well, I need to have the first ad placed at least 2 weeks prior to September 8th, so I would need it like a week before that at least.
and the other thing is, we have to, like I said, get the information over to the consulting engineer. They have to have time to approve it. It's not like we can
And
say.
then give us
Right,
the
which is fine.
proposal.
We can
Got
ask
it.
and say, hey, can you take a peek at these? It's not like it's a new project. It's you've upgraded what you had, so, we'll see what they can do with just,
Understood.
it's not, we're not intentionally trying to slow things down.
No, I understand.
People have, they have other projects going on. They can't just drop everything to get this, so.
Understood. So just to confirm, you're gonna send me information, I'm gonna fill everything out, then you're basically sending out our application and the drawings to your third-party reviewer, they'll look at it, and then they'll provide basically a quote to you, and then we have to provide those funds for
Correct.
you. Okay, excellent.
And I'll send you the application and checklist, because you have to file everything, all the documentation, the fees, and you have to file it with the town clerk, because that actually gets the time clock ticking. The application has to be filed by the town clerk, then and I need a complete copy of everything. And then in the checklist, it tells you who to send the peer reviewer the information. I can give you that information tomorrow. And then once they receive it, they'll prepare the scope and fee. I have to disseminate it to the different departments for comments, like you do the first time. And then, like I say, they'll prepare their scope and fee. I'll send a copy to you. Once those funds are received, they can start their review, and then we take it from there.
And the only thing I would say is to be proactive. If you, like I said, you did a markup on the drainage. Like I said, more than likely, your engineer is gonna say the same thing, but we're gonna wanna have an stamped engineer on the drainage, because that's, now we're making it, we're gonna make sure everything is checked off the list.
So, Mr. Chair, Beta reviewed this prior? Okay.
They did, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
That's good.
so,
You may have a heads up on it. So.
yeah, so, all right, well,
Do you want to make a motion
yeah,
just to, they have to file the application?
yeah, I make a motion, oh, go ahead, George. Yep.
What is the actual conditions for this cease and desist as of tomorrow? What can they do, what can't they do?
That'll be the building department, we don't do that, that's the building department. Yeah, so he'll take care of that, but they'll just stop work. I've had to stop work, that means you're all done.
You're all done.
They hand you the letter,
Go on vacation.
and you're all done, so, anyhow, yeah, all right, so I make a motion that we, refer, 1073, to file for a special permit addendum.
Second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded? All right,
Aye.
aye, great, thank you.
Do we need to vote on submitting it to Bob for? No.
No,
Okay.
we're all done.
Okay.
Yep, all right, well, good.
Thank you very
for
much.
coming in. Yep,
Appreciate your
appreciate it. Yep, thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda, let's see here. Let's see, we're gonna jump. So to one thing, I make a motion to authorize either Richard Nichols or James McKay to sign, approve planning board payroll for FY 2026. And I make a motion for Richard Nichols to sign, approve bills for the planning board for fiscal year 2026.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Mel, you did remind me to have you sign that in addition to the decision.
Okay. All right, approval of minutes, I'm gonna bounce to that. I make a motion that we approve the minutes from July 8th as written.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. And then we can go back to the general code software proposal for zoning bylaws discussion. So, and this was, I think, we brought this up last meeting too? Okay, so they sent us a proposal for the service to go ahead and get all our zoning software online. They also upgrade it to make sure that it's all legal. I can't remember the amount to,
It's in here.
but I just didn't read, I read it the other day. I would like to say it was, oh, hold on, I can tell you what the amount is. Right now, the way ours is set up, it basically is very, okay. Yeah, okay, so, right now, the way ours is set up is that it really can't be edited. It has to, they have to go in and manually manipulate everything. So it's like going through a Word document, and when they start typing it, it moves everything. So it's almost impossible to make changes, and we do make changes quite often. Plus, there's nothing to make sure that what we're putting in doesn't have any typos or have any code issues that we don't pick up, because we may not, we may, may have worded it incorrectly, whatever. So what this does is it allows the residents of Millis to be able to go in, or people from other towns to go in, go online, look at our zoning, pick out what they need for information, and everything will be accurate. It'll be updated by this company. And once it's online and set, it's digitized. Now, we own that once it's on there, right? Meaning that we're not, just this is a question. So when you go ahead and we buy this, the town of Millis owns it as it is. Do we know that?
No.
It's Jim
No.
Donovan's.
So what will happen is that he'll have to update the software continuously, and he would take that over as part, once we get the funding to buy the software, and then it would be a continual.
So that was and that's my question. So if we make the initial investment, which I
Yep.
think is a great idea,
Yep.
so there's you will have to pay a fee. Hey, do we know what that fee is yearly?
That, we'll have to
Yeah.
ask him when he comes.
I think it's in
It's
the
in there.
documentation, and Jim Donovan, the IT director,
Said
did
he
say
would
that
take it
his
over.
department would cover that cost.
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right, good. Well, so that answers the question.
Yep.
Okay, so that's great. So, the amount for putting everything online and digitizing it is 16.5. So, I know it, go ahead.
A question on that, stated April 15th with a 6-month valid date,
Well-
which expires before town meeting.
Well, we would check that before, but that's a good thing. Good catch.
I
We'll,
believe
I
there
think,
was a conversation
In May. It was gonna
in
be
May
in May.
that date can be extended.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we can make sure that we extend that, we'll get them to, but, so we would make a recommendation to the select board that they proceed with this work. And so, as much as, this is kind of like some of the building projects we've done, in the town. We've not done anything for years and years and years and years and years. And then now it's time that we need to pay the piper and get it so it's up to current standards, so people can use it effectively and it's correct. So I make the my.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, so if you look on page 15, it does list the communities that they
They serve it.
already service. And I have used this service through various, both in my research for my private clients, as well, in particular with the zoning bylaw review committee, when we're looking to compare and update some of these things. This service is extremely user-friendly. much more so than any community such as ours, where we're just taking the book, photocopying it, and putting it on. Because the user can go in, type in, I'm looking for lot lines, and you just type in lot lines, and you're gonna come up with anything that references that. So it is very consumer oriented.
Yeah, and to Nicole's point, I mean, right now, they have this page, the page that's on here, it's gonna have, it's probably
It
got
says 153 or
100
158.
135 municipalities in Massachusetts right now use this service. So it's not like, it's not like this is unusual or we're going above and beyond. This is something that many towns are using because it makes sense, so.
May I just have-
Go ahead.
And just one other note, it not only does the zoning bylaws, which are under the purview of the planning board, but they're also going to be doing the general bylaws, which are under the town clerk, and the town charter.
And one other thing is that there is a indirect cost. Anytime that we go ahead and we have to update any of the zoning bylaws or whatever, it has to be manually inputted by our staff. So we may end up, there will be a cost savings because the time that it takes for Camille and the town clerk to go in, that's hours they're spending that they're billing, not billing for, but they can't be doing other things that, so we're indirectly spending money to do this already, so. Unless there's any other comment, I make a motion that we. Oh,
Mr.
go ahead.
Chairman, I just think that the fee is, we take in a lot of money in the building department, and the Board of Selectmen raised the fees back in 2024, pretty much doubling the permit fees. And all that extra money goes into the general fund that's over the budget for the building department. So, I don't see a problem, with the funding part of it. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's, knowledge, how much money the building department takes in on building permit fees that don't directly get applied to the building department.
And George, I cut you off, sorry.
It says the proposal is valid for 6 months.
Yeah, Alan brought that up. We'll talk to them and make sure it'll make it through. But if they want to do the work, they're gonna make sure that number holds until we're ready to do it. So I think that'll be a good
We're
discussion.
one town meeting off from them.
Yeah,
They're lucky that,
yeah, we'll have that discussion
Yeah.
to lock that in, so.
So what is the next step? Does someone need to go to the planning board?
So
and
I
present
think
it?
we have to present this to select board and.
I'm sorry, the select board.
Yeah.
I think that it's like, we're gonna have to write it up. We're gonna have to do a warrant article. We'll have to do I can work with Nicole. We'll get it done. We'll
Okay.
get it done.
Sounds good. So we'll present it
At
to.
the next meeting, we'll have everything.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll present to the select board to put it on, and that would go on. Now, would that be paid out of general funds, Jim?
It would have to come out of the November town meeting. Yes, it would come out of the general fund.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So Camille, what I would do is I would send them an email stating to them that we have an article
To the
for the
select
November
board?
town. Yep, or to Mike and Karen too.
Okey dokey. Well, I think that'll be, yeah, and like I said, actually, now that you mention it, I did the town of Barnstable. I actually looked stuff up on that, and it is, yeah, you can look stuff up, because it's,
It's very easy.
yeah, so that's a good thing. All right, we have to add October, November meeting, I believe. So, Mike, you're gonna be gone, you're gone in the fall, right? Like, all fall? All right, so, what do we
I
got?
have a feeling that these people here are gonna be with us for the next couple of.
All right, what do we need? We need October. October, okay, let's see here, come on. October, so what do you think, Camille?
It's up to you folks, the 7th,
Yeah,
7th or the 14th?
okay. Let's try the 7th, that's fine. October 7th, no, if we get back to October, come on.
I'll be here.
10, November 10th.
Town meeting is November 10th, 11th is a holiday. So
I'll be here the 7th, so 7th works for me.
Wait, what month are we in?
October,
Okay.
October 7th,
Then we've talked town meeting. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have October down yet.
Works for me. All good?
and how about November 4th?
when's town meeting? That's,
I'm sorry.
That's
town meeting,
election.
when's-
Town meeting is the 10th, November 10th.
okay. Can we do it after town, do we need to do it before town meeting, or do we?
You know, we better
You wait.
schedule just in case something with
Fine.
Dave's thing comes up.
Fine, let's do that. All right, so,
November 4th?
okay.
Okay.
That I can't guarantee.
Oh, November 4th is election
The
day.
last game of the World
Yeah,
Series.
I was just gonna say, I have it down, but I don't
Oh,
know
that's,
election.
that's election day.
Red Sox in San Diego.
Here at the
Yeah.
town hall.
I just have it, I think that's a,
It says election day on my phone, but I don't think
yeah,
that's
on my
the
phone.
notice.
I don't know that that's, is there a state election this year?
No,
No?
All right,
but, well, wait a minute, there has to be
It's always the state
yeah,
yeah, there has to be something in September, but there's,
So the 4th
we have it
is-
December
8th,
8th
Right.
is the,
is the special election if they, right,
well, they're gonna have to have it anyways.
for,
Well, even if the school thing doesn't, at town meeting, they still have to have the election.
The election is after, isn't the
Oh.
election at the special election in December?
Yep.
it's December 8th.
Right.
Yeah.
November
In
10th.
town meeting is the November 10th.
November 10th, and then the election for the school override will be,
Right.
So then we can't do November 4th, is that what you're saying?
Well, it's,
No.
we,
it's November, yeah, we can.
it's, well, it's election day is what it came up in the calendar. Let's put it as the 4th and we can change it.
Oh,
I mean, it doesn't
Well, we
matter.
can-
It's,
yeah, we
it's
can-
over. It's, the elections, I mean, even, I can't imagine it's gonna be
I'll
crowded.
find out if there's anything going.
Let's
because
put
all
it for
matters
the-
If there's anything here at town hall,
Yeah.
I'll check with the town clerk and we can do that for tentatively. I'll let
Fine,
you
and we
know.
can always change it if it
Yep.
doesn't work.
even if it's the election.
Okay, sounds good. All right, sounds like a plan. All right, unless there's anything else, I make a motion to adjourn.
second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.